welcome back to the Fort Smith Public Library. I'm Miss Robin and I'm so happy you joined me today. Let's open up our surprise bag and get started. Are you ready? Let's go! Our library bag has a big surprise. Now's the time to use our eyes. Untie, unwind, open wide. Show us what's inside. Ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3. Open now and let us see. Hey there, Mr. Fred. Get on out here. Well, there you are. Come on, come see the kids. Yes, sir. I know they miss you and I know you miss them. I don't know. Fred wants to know if you know the story of the princess and the pea. You know, the one where they put the pea under her mattress to figure out if she's a real princess? Well, that's not what we're reading today. Nope. It's a fractured fairy tale. We've taken the facts of Princess and the Pea, and our author has twisted it all around for a brand new story. Are you ready for it? Well, let's tell Fred. See you later, alligator. Fred will go in, and our book will come out. The Cowboy and the Black-Eyed Pea. It was written by Tony Johnston, and it was illustrated by Warren Ludwig. It was published by G.P. Putnam Sons. We're really happy they're letting us read it to you today. It's such a fun story. Out where coyotes serenade the moon and sagebrush graze the land, there lived a young woman of bodacious beauty. Her name was Fare Thee Well. Her daddy was fixing to leave her all his worldly goods, a fine herd of longhorns, a corral full of horses, and the biggest spread in the great state of Texas. It's quite a spread. On his deathbed, he said to Fare Thee Well, "Come and sit by my side." So she did. "Honey," he whispered, "when I'm gone and you're rich, men will flock like flies to praline, seeking your hand in marriage. Find a real cowboy who'll love you for yourself, not just for your longhorn herd." Sure enough, quick as you can say, "Set another place at the table," cowboys from hither and yon came seeking Fare Thee Well's hand. Fare Thee Well had herself a fine problem. How could she tell a real cowboy from a fake? She thought on what course to take. Then she recalled her daddy's words. A real cowboy is known for his sensitivity. At the least touch, he'll bruise like the petals of a desert rose. Knowing that, she devised a plan. Whenever a caller came to ask her for her hand, she'd slip an itty-bitty black-eyed pea beneath his saddle blanket. Then she'd send him out on the range. Should he return fresh as a Texas morning, he was a fake. A real cowboy would be sorely troubled by that pea. One day, such a caller rode in. He was tall as a tree with a mustache as big as tarnation. He wore spurs the size of tambourines. "Marry me, madam," he said, "and I'll run this place for you." Without delay, she put him to the test. "Just ride the range today," said Fare Thee Well. "When you return, I'll give you my reply." Then, unnoticed, she slipped an itty-bitty black-eyed pea beneath his saddle blanket. The cowboy set out, mustache a-jouncing, spurs a-jingling. All day he roamed the spread that he thought would soon be his. Then he returned fresh as a Texas morning and prideful as a rooster. "Marry me, madam," he said, swinging down from the saddle. "No, sir," said Fare-thee-well, "you're not a real cowboy at all." "How can you tell?" he hissed, mean as a snake. "I have my ways. Adios." Well, he'd never been adiosed like that before. "Hogs!" he roared, stomping his feet. "I didn't want to marry you anyhow." And he cut on out of there. Come daylight, another caller appeared, bristling with pistols and brag. He wore tooled leather boots, an overgrown neckerchief, and fringes galore, real swagger clothes. "Marry me, madam," he said, "and I'll run this spread for you." Fare-thee-well figured he didn't know the front end of a horse from the rear. Still, she put him to the test. With the itty-bitty black-eyed pea hidden beneath his saddle, the cowboy set out, the neckerchief a-flying, fringes a-flapping. At the end of the day he returned, fresh as a Texas morning and swelled with swagger like a horned toad. "Marry me, madam," he said, swinging down from the saddle. "No, sir," said Fare-thee-well, "you're not a real cowboy at all." "How do you know?" He glared with a hard look as petrified grits. "I have my ways. Adios." Well, he'd never been adios like that before. "Beans!" he roared. "I didn't want to marry you anyhow." And he cut on out of there. So it was. Cowboys came and went, but none was a real cowboy, not a one. One day a rushing rain fell down so fast it was like to float the ranch house away. In the midst of the downpour, a young man knocked at the door. Rivulets of water gushed from his boots and over the porch like quicksilver streams. They ran so hard and fast it seemed that he was the very cause of the storm. "Mind if I sit out the storm here?" he asked. He did not ask for her hand, but something about him gave her a notion. So she said, "My longhorns don't much like rain. Would you ride out and check on them? Then come right on back." "No trouble at all," said the cowboy. While he was pouring the rain from his hat, Fare-thee-well tucked the itty-bitty black-eyed pea under his saddle blanket. Scarcely had the cowboy reached the fence when the pea commenced to work at him. He touched the reins and headed back. He swung down and checked the saddle. Something was almighty wrong with it, but he couldn't figure what. "Ma'am," he called to Fare-thee-well, "I believe I need another saddle blanket." Fare-thee-well fetched another saddle blanket. He piled it on top of the first one. Then he set out once more. As he rode along, he twisted and twitched. The saddle squeaked and creaked. Despite his squirming, he could find no comfort. So again, the cowboy returned. "Madam," he called, "could you spare another saddle blanket?" Something surely worked its way under my saddle, but I can't locate the culprit. Fare-thee-well fetched another blanket, which the cowboy piled on top of the others, and he set out once more. Time and again he retraced his steps. Time and again Fare-thee-well gave him more blankets, till he was sitting on no fewer than 50 saddle blankets, all stacked up like flapjacks. Though the view was fine from that perch, the itty-bitty black-eyed pea was just a-working and a-rubbing and causing him no end of pain. The cowboy gritted his teeth against it. Though he sorely needed more blankets, he thought, "This time I'll not go back. I've got a job to do." And he rode out toward the herd. The rain kept coming down. Lightning sizzled across the sky. Then a boom of thunder spooked the longhorns something awful. They set up a fearsome howling and cut loose like a runaway locomotive. There seemed no way to control them. The cowboy and his horse were wedged between the cattle, so of course they took off too. Woo-wee! It was a painful ride, jolting up and down on that itty-bitty black-eyed pea. It was a dangerous ride too. Like as not, the rampaging longhorns would squash both man and horse. But the cowboy had a stroke of luck. Back at the ranch, Fare-thee-well had heard the thundering herd. Stampede, she thought, and she raced to slow it down. Right off, she saw the cowboy caught in the middle, high atop his flapjack pile of saddle blankets, unable to reach his stirrups. Even above the bawling cattle, she heard his groans of pain, all produced by that vexatious black-eyed pea. It hurt so he like to died. Fare-thee-well lit out to save him. She cut right into the running herd. Skedaddle, she whooped. Sure enough, those longhorns skedaddled every which way. Though the cowboy was saved, a more pitiful sight you've rarely seen. By now, he didn't look much like a real cowboy, but Fare-thee-well knew he was. "Howdy," he said, attempting to smile. "Howdy," said Fare-thee-well. "You don't look so good." "Fact is, ma'am, setting on this saddle is like setting on sheer stone." He eased down from the saddle. Fare-thee-well checked under the pile of blankets. "I declare," she cried, fetching out something not bigger than a flea. "It's nothing at all, just this itty-bitty black-eyed pea." "I'll be," said the cowboy. He was truly amazed. This time, Fare-thee-well never said adios, for soon they were married and they set off on a wedding trip. The stars that night were big and bright as they saddled their horses and headed out. In front of them shone a full-blown Texas moon. Behind them, a full-grown Texas mule ambled along, piled high with saddle blankets, in case the need should arise. And that's the story of the cowboy and the black-eyed pea. Wasn't that fun? I like the way Tony Johnston twisted that story around, that fairy tale around, to make this fun book. And I hope you liked it too. See you next time.